when women bitch about their close friends, they are addressing their own anxieties about that particular issue.
It's never jealousy and envy in your face, Shunali. It's always something that's camouflaged. It comes out in the little statements. Oh, you're too busy to meet us. Oh, you've become too big these days. And that's one thing
She has changed.
I've suddenly started getting this a lot.
You have the same playing field, literally.
And
So whether you're in the same age bracket making a play for a boy or the same age bracket making a play for other group of girls in your classroom.
And that's what we see in the White Lotus. They're all coming from that same space.
Yeah.
Shunali, the most interesting thing I did this weekend was watch the latest season of White Lotus. And while, of course, I've been to Thailand twice in the recent year, and it sort of brought back memories of going there and being inundated by monkeys and all of that. But the biggest thing that hit me was the fact that I've been there. I've been in something that they showed on that show. And I think all of us women have. It's like this jellyfish friendship.
Yeah.
That the psychologists call it.
Right, Bridget Jones named it.
Bridget Jones named it.
She used to say that I've been jellyfished.
Jellyfished.
In The Edge of Reason, I think. No, about a boy.
Yeah. So that jellyfish friendship that they have, those blondes, the three blondes.
Yeah. It was quite fascinating. I was at a gorgeous beach resort last weekend. I was at this place called Lux Hotel in the Maldives. And they had invited 3 other girls for just giving us an experience of the place. And, at our age, we don't make friends easily. We hold on to old friendships. So I can't say I was anxious. I'm not that sort of a person. But I was like, well, I guess we'll do our own thing. I knew one of those girls. She's a friend of mine, a professional friend. And also I've known her through work since a few years. But the other 2 girls, I didn't know them at all. They were influencers, for one, and younger than us. So I was surprised by the 3.5 days we spent over there. I really grew to like them. And of course, at the resort, they had created a lot of activities. We went snorkeling and we did a lot of stuff together. And a friendship formed very quickly between us. Lots of laughter, joy, fun. And then I watched White Lotus and I began to think that there are some contradictions here. One is that they say you can't form friendships, in your 40s and 50s that easily. And the other is that here are these girls who've gone to a beach resort, who've grown up together, Kate and Laurie and Jacqueline. And so what is it between new and old friendships? Why do things pan out differently? It sort of made me examine that. And the answer I got was that, I think you're more choosy when you become friends with people when you're older. And you're also more choosy about what you reveal to them. Okay? And there's no baggage of history and complexity involved. So therefore, newer friendships that you form in your 40s really last long. Okay. And if you nurture them. And then what happens with friendships where you've grown together and been in college together, maybe, been interested in the same man, or one has dated your ex. There's history there. So you are hanging out with many versions of that same person at the White Lotus Hotel or wherever in your life, and you're hanging out with old friends, because there are many versions to who we are by the time we reach our 40s.
Absolutely.
These women are all in their 40s. Okay.
Yeah. You're not the same person you were back then at all.
But your friendship is what it is because of those old ties. But the new you and the new her are not the same. And so there's this burden that they are carrying and many versions. So it's actually one part of you is interacting with an old part of them. One part of you is responding to the new part of them. And it's actually just a terrible cocktail.
So I had this very interesting experience recently, not in the context of toxic friendships, but we had a gang in college, around 5 of us. Some of them had met intermittently over the past few years, but I met a couple of them after 35 years, a couple of weeks ago.
Really? So you knew them from the time when you were 5? Because
in
you're 40
college
now.
No. I knew them in utero, let's put it that way. So when I met them, Shonali, I did not see them as they were, and obviously they did not. I don't know about how they perceived me, but I kept seeing them as I remembered them back from college. And
But in these years, you said intermittently.
yeah, we've
Yeah,
been
okay,
on
fine.
WhatsApping, Facebooking, or whatever, but we've never met. And then for me to suddenly accept the fact that they come with an entire new history of people that I know not much about, husbands, some of whom I haven't met, their children, some of whom I haven't met, their lives, one is in London, one is a very successful homemaker. And I'm learning about these things, even though we've been corresponding on and
Sure.
off. And it felt wonderful. But I also think that we also brought a lot of, I don't know,
Expectations?
not expectations. We were also
Preconceived
very,
ideas.
very about revealing too much about ourselves.
Sure.
Because we were meeting after so long, I think it'll take a few more meetings for us to go back to that level of friendship or intimacy that we had earlier. It felt like going back in a time capsule.
Yeah, but it is like that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it really did.
You know, whenever I meet really old friends of mine, I realize after looking at them, they've become really old. But Kiran, isn't it true?
That's what I said. I looked at them and I said, okay. Then I said, maybe they're feeling the same when they look at me. So, Kiran, please shut up.
No, I'm sure they're not feeling the same when they look at me. When I look at them, I realize, man, she's really aged.
What happened to her? Did I go to school with her? Did I go to college with her? No.
But here's the thing that because my dad moved a lot, in the army days, I really, all those girls I was friends with through different phases of my life, whenever they approached me 4, 5, 6 years later, and now especially after social media, our bonds weren't deep enough for a long enough span for me to want to connect with them. And when I did connect with them, I think that I let them down because they felt that there was a warmth that was missing, or I wasn't putting investing that much time into our conversations because I just found them unrelatable. But in the White Lotus, for those who haven't watched it, these three girls, one of them is an actor, and she is obviously doing very well in life. So she invites her two other friends. They're a group of three. She invites them to this resort in Thailand, and they're all in their 40s. They're all pretending to be very happy with their individual lives. And I think the most important thing in good friendships is to be vulnerable with each other, but they're not being vulnerable with each other. They're putting on big facades. And to quote one of the women from the show, the bigger the front, the bigger the backstory, right? So bigger, you're hiding a lot. And I think one pretends to be really happy, and she says, my husband and I are addicted to each other. And the other one pretends who's a Republican, and they have political differences. And she says, my husband is, of course, pro-Trump, but that's all right. We live in Texas, and he has his views, and she pretends to be really quite okay with that. And then in groups of three, they all backbite each other, groups of two out of the three. So whenever one is asleep, the other two are discussing her. And it always starts with, I'm really concerned for her.
She's so lovely. She's such a wonderful friend.
Yeah.
And then the conversation goes downhill.
But she's really had it difficult. And I think she has a drinking problem. So they're just disguising their
Concern.
Their nasty, not even nastiness, their little bitchiness with the concern. They're, camouflaging it with genuine concern. And the truth is, Kiran, it's not, it's very nuanced. They do like each other also. That's why they are here.
But there's some sort of power game that they're replaying, which comes from college or school days, or they were in high
That's
school
right.
together. So each one is trying to get more in with the other person, wield some power because you are bitching about the third person to them. Therefore, there's an insider connect with the other person that the third doesn't know about.
Correct.
And the third one, who's Laurie, who lives in New York, who had gone through a pretty tough divorce,
Right.
a loser husband, and then she's having problems with her daughter. So the concern is spilling over, but the concern is also dissing all her life choices.
Yeah. I think that I read somewhere that when women bitch about their close friends, they are addressing their own anxieties about that particular issue, in a way.
Also, it makes them feel slightly superior that they are not in the same situation.
Or that their life is as bad as the next person's life, So when a person says, she looks too happy for it to be true, maybe somewhere the anxiety within them is also that, supposing they're talking about someone's marriage, that, is it true for mine also? So then they're examining someone else's marriage, but their mind is actually caught up with their own marriage and figuring that out. Or if you don't get along with your daughter, I think there is some comfort in knowing that your best friend's son hates her. But you're not going to say, oh, I love the fact that he hates her. I feel so good about it. It's
Misery loves company.
it is at the root of it is jealousy. What else, right? Have you ever experienced that with between old friends, jealousy and envy?
It's never jealousy and envy in your face, Shonali. It's always something that's camouflaged. It comes out in the little statements. Oh, you're too busy to meet us. Oh, you've become too big these days.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's one thing.
She has changed. You've changed.
You've changed. I've suddenly started getting this a lot after I crossed 50, I think, because now I'm not tolerating a lot of stuff that
You
I
still
did.
tolerate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I used to tolerate a lot more.
I mean, I'm glad that we have this lovely relationship for our podcast because I can keep course correcting you.
I need a lot more course.
You parlor your frenemies, okay, by being nice to them, sending them crates of mangoes.
Not all my frenemies.
Not all of it.
So yeah. I've been in, I find this happens when there are groups of 3. So the dynamic is very unstable. It's like the 3-body problem.
What is the 3-body problem?
The 3-body problem is when there is a planetary system with 2 suns and then it's unstable. There's constant dynamics, there's constant flux of the weather and the temperature is never the same.
Wow, you're a geologist.
No, I just read a lot of science fiction.
I thought a 3-body problem was some orgy.
You think about more exciting things than I do. That's a better 3-body problem to have.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, is she going to say this now? Do we have to censor this out? Okay, good.
No.
3-body problem.
Yeah. Nothing as exciting as what you thought.
By the way, I'm going to interrupt this. At this said weekend in the Maldives at that hotel, these girls introduce you to one Instagram handle where a guy says, goes to random people and he says, what are the 3 states of matter? Okay. And then all these people, one is an engineer, one is a professor, and they say, there are 3 things that matter to me.
Oh.
Okay. Your loyalty, how successful you are, and how nice you are to me. Okay. Oh my God. Then he says, you're correct. What college did you go to? What do you do? It shows how intelligent you are. 3 states of matter people don't know.
But here I am thinking that there are 4 states of matter and that question is defunct already. There's plasma. Solid, liquid and plasma.
Oh, shut up. Solid, liquid and gas. What plasma?
Solid, liquid, gas and plasma.
Please, Kiran,
Yes.
you're making up your own science.
No, I'm right. I'm right.
Oh my God. You're correct.
I'm correct.
Okay, so coming back to 3-body problem. Yeah. So what are the experience and friendship
there's
with other people?
the 3-body problem. There's a very unstable dynamic.
Okay.
There's push and pull between 2 parties. One party wants to get close to the other, wants to edge the other person out. But the other person is also trying to get close to one of the 3. So there's constant push and pull. One is bitching about the other is bitching about the other. And then stories are getting carried over.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now I used to think this happens only with us, but my mother-in-law, who was in a long-standing friendship with a dear friend for over 25 years, third party got introduced into the friendship. And within few months, they were spatting. The 25-year-old friendship was tehes-nehes. Because stories were going from here to there and there to here. And I kept telling her, this problem never occurred between the 2 of you for all these years. Why now, suddenly after the introduction of this lady, have you all 2 begun fighting like that?
Actually, Kiran, this is so familiar because I had a friend of 8-9 years and really like a sister to me. We were as close as 2 girls can be and in a no envy way. Like she adored me and I adored her. Okay. And we brought different, we were very different personalities. And so we complemented each other. And then a third girl who wanted to befriend her because she's very well connected and of some use to her.
That's the key thing, of some use to
Some use to her. So she actually first wooed me, befriended me with lots of gifts and love bombed. She love bombed me basically.
Lovely.
And lots of gifts and calls and lunches and let's be friends. And that other girl kept warning me and she said, look, you're hanging out too much with this person. She's damn twisted. You cannot trust her. I don't know why you're giving her time. And I was like, no, she's misunderstood. She's so nice. Anyway, then this girl started saying, introduce the two of us, which I promptly did. And then I thought, okay, the three of us can hang out. And before I knew it, a lot of lies had been said about me on my behalf in a very convincing manner. And then I was out of the picture. So this is like a very common playbook. Okay. And
But then how do you know? You know, when you're being open and trusting, you have a friend, you have another friend, you're going to connect your friends because you want your friends to know each
Sure.
other. How do you know this is not going to end up in a big mess? Or do you just take the risk?
It inevitably does, but I can't live my life so cautiously. Inevitably, somebody will backstab you. Somebody will get competitive with you and, throw you under the bus or talk, make up lies behind your back to sort of ruin your relationships and equations with other people. But if you live like this, you're not living at all in this fear of this happening to you. And clearly, I don't live in fear of this happening to me because this
has happened over and over and over
not over and over again. But I'm just saying that one time was enough. It happened to me in a very dramatic way. So what I'm getting at is that is why this episode has resonated with a lot of people, a lot of women especially, because this kind of stuff does happen and everyone is feeling that, oh yeah, that's happened with me. It strikes a chord. Interestingly, I was figuring out, look, men react in a different way. It's not that men don't feel envy and rivalry, but they don't make snide remarks at each other because men are less verbal. They'll just distance themselves from the other person if,
or they'll get drunk and get into a fight.
Exactly, because men, their aggression is manifest physically. Women don't confront, women cope. It's evolutionary biology and psychology. We don't confront, we cope. So if we are envious of someone or jealous of them, we're not going to tell them that, boss, I'm jealous of you. We go back and we think of ways to, basically backstab them or hurt them in mild ways or be their frenemies.
Yeah, and all that passive aggression, it just sort of boils over.
Yeah.
It comes to a point when there'll be a big spat.
It is.
There'll be some.
But Kiran, a lot of people say this is patriarchy. You can't place every blame at the door of patriarchy.
No, this is not patriarchy.
I think this is just the way the brain is wired because of the scarcity factor. I think back in the caveman days, men went out to hunt. Women were in that cave. Okay, cooking, hanging out with each other, making emotional bonds, being vulnerable with each other.
And jellyfishing each other.
And there was a scarcity of men, right? Like something got eaten by a tiger, someone got trampled by a lion, a dinosaur kicked someone's butt. So now 10 men have gone on the hunt and 5 have come back. So how are women going to outsmart each other for those 5? To have, to
divide the spoils.
To spawn to have children for them.
So therefore they are putting down the other women to become the top of the pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a senior anthropologist, I can tell you.
So this is survival strategy for women to put the other women down, is that what you're saying?
It is a survival instinct. It's an instinct.
Oh. I'm never going to survive anywhere. But yeah, these are the little jibes at frenemies. I'm like, talking about these trios, I've been part of 2 trios and I've been unceremoniously kicked out of both. So I'm wondering where I'm going wrong with these friendships.
I think that with you, I think you're a bit naive.
A bit
naive, I think. Yeah, I'm now not part of any trios.
Yeah, so now I'm not part of any trios. Yeah. Because I realized that those 2 are still friends.
Yeah.
But I'm not friends with them anymore.
Yeah. The only trio I'm a part of is with my 2 dogs. And they're both females. And
they're not going to kick you out of any group.
But they get so jealous of each other. When you pick up one dog and, pet one dog, the other one gets damn jealous.
Are they bitching about each other to you?
I mean, literally. They're female dogs.
Lilo, Tiffany did this today. You know how Tiffany's
so that Lilo's a jealous one. If I hold Tiffany and pet Tiffany, Lilo, my God, she rises from any part of the house and comes dashing and looks at me with a very etu.
That's what you get for keeping 2 dogs, female dogs.
Yeah.
You should have kept 2 male dogs. They would have just punched each other and be done with it.
They piss around the house and mark their territory.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, this is a metaphor for actually what men do. Right? Like they bash each other up. Or they'll outdo each other, like try and talk big about their work and how much money they made in the stocks or, what they bet on early enough and how well performing their company is. That's how they compete.
Yeah. There's a lot of chest thumping. It's gorilla.
There is chest thumping. Yeah. But, between chest thumping and being really petty and underhand, I think chest thumping is
nicer.
Is less pernicious.
Yeah. It's less emotionally destructive to everyone involved, including the person who's doing the...
Exactly.
And chest thumping, you look at them and you say, haha, very nice, fine. We know you're fibbing, keep quiet,
I
sit
mean, you
down.
come back home feeling smaller or maybe more competitive or maybe more challenged to do better at work or thinking that, he's just a
Gas bag.
gas bag.
Yeah.
But I think because we women rely so much on the, no, not enough is said or spoken or written about breakup when it comes to female friendships breaking up and to infidelity, not in the romantic sense, but, in the sense of
Friendships.
of a friend being insincere to you and forming alliance with someone who is out to harm you and that sort of a thing. But those are actually really painful. And you can see that right from the time girls are in school.
Yeah, we've had mean girls, we've had gossip girls.
Yeah.
It's all about female friendships and their destructiveness.
Exactly.
And female friendship breakups are almost as painful, or if not worse than romantic
of course
breakups.
They are, 100%.
But very interestingly, now that I've come into my 50s, okay, I just carbon dated myself.
It's okay.
It's okay. But I have found new friends. I have some dear old friends, you're one of them, who've stayed with me for years and years. And I have new friends who are people I never knew before, but they're interestingly all young women in their 30s, mid-30s, early 30s. And I don't know how this has happened. So I'm not able to make new friends from women of my
Your
age group,
Yeah.
but I'm making a lot more new friends of women from a much younger demographic. And that
I think one is the curiosity. I think they are curious about our lives and we are curious. This is exactly what I'm telling you. These two lovely girls that I met in the Maldives. Firstly, they are both influencers, right? So one has this notion of how influencers are. One is a big influencer in Delhi. The other is a big influencer in Bombay. And they were being so nice. They were like, come, let me take your picture. And, I just needed to click some photos and share them, whatever, online. And, our generation is still very self-conscious in front of the camera. And these women know their poses, they know everything. And they've been just so wonderful. And, I'm bad at taking food pictures. And they were like, we'll share our pictures with you and airdropping it later. So I'm just saying that it's so nice to be with people who are comfortable and not being competitive and not being threatened. It's fantastic.
I think that's the main thing. Na? They're not competitive and they're not threatened. Neither are we competitive with them, nor are we threatened by them.
But that's what it is. Because we are not competing either in the same. So when do things get really dangerous and messy and toxic friendships? When you have the same playing field, literally. So whether you're in the same age bracket making a play for a boy or the same age bracket making a play for other group of girls in your classroom.
And that's what we see in the White Lotus. They're all coming from that same space.
Yeah.
They've adopted very different lifestyles, but they're still competing like they were in high school with each other.
Exactly.
Everything, even the face. Who's your dermatologist? What have you done?
Yes.
Okay, what about you?
Her face looks like too too waxy.
Waxy. Yeah. She's looking great. Oh, she's looking so tired. 5 seconds later.
I know, that is the one. Looking so tired. So, this is the other one. There's a whole way of saying and doing it. You look tired last night.
Is everything okay with you?
And you look good. Okay, or at least other people thought so. But there's one person who's your friend, be like, babe, what have you done to yourself? What are you doing? What is this? That is the kind of underhand stuff that goes on. But by the way, in the White Lotus in episode 7, there's a full-blown confrontation.
Okay, I'm not reached that
And interestingly, this is what happens, right? In a group of 3, a person is going to quickly form an alliance with the person who's more important. So that Jacqueline is an actor and she's paying for this holiday. And when so Jacqueline ends up having, some sort of a tryst with Valentine,
the
butler.
therapist. Yeah.
No, he's their butler also. So while she was pushing Laurie to have a scene with him, and Laurie is the one who's single. And then obviously Laurie feels upset and cheated by it. And she brings it up and she says, I just can't trust you anymore, because this one says, why are you being so uptight? And she says, I just can't trust you anymore. And Kate says, I think you're making such a big deal of this. Okay. And she does not stand up for Laurie. Finally, Laurie walks out of there after they tell her that you're being this, and she tells them that you're just too vain.
So that's what happens. 2 of them will gang up against one in this toxic. But
those 2 who will gang up are the ones, one of them has to be a parasite, living off the other.
feeding off the other and
Feeding
wanting
off the
the
other.
other shine.
That's
And
it.
the one who's being kicked out or put out of the trio is the one who threatens both of these because she's not matching up to
That's
their
right. She's not matching to their tune,
their standards
or
or
their
whatever
standards.
else.
Exactly.
So Laurie's not
She's
fitting
not playing
in.
ball.
Yeah, she's not fitting in because she's a corporate hotshot.
Yeah.
She's living life on her own terms. She's living in New York. This one girl is this good wife in Austin who's probably got some cachet in her hometown, but nobody knows her anywhere
Correct.
else. And Jacqueline's a film star, the movie star,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So Laurie is the odd one out who has to be put in her place.
Yeah. You know what I found really funny though, and they bonded over this also, is that when they want to have a good time and they're like, this resort is nice, but it's too sleepy and nothing happens here, which is typically, you know, what I notice happens in these kind of quiet beachside resorts. Especially in Thailand, I know this happens because those are very like remote resorts.
And they're generally accessible only by boat, like the Maldives one.
Yeah, and then these are all upscale resorts, so then you know they're not like overrun by children and noise or whatever. So these girls want to have a good time, and then they ask at Valentine, where should we go? And they are thinking we are young and we are fit the way we are thinking, Kiran. And then
We're young and fit.
He sends them off to some other happening club. He said, it's very nice, you'll have a great time there. And they go there and they see that they're surrounded by shriveled up, wrinkled, elderly people. And she's like, where has he sent us? And I can see that she's taken this as a personal affront. That basically, does he think we're these old bags? So thrown us together?
So through Valentine's eyes, they are the old bags.
But they are, right? And that is so interesting. I found that very interesting because you think that you're young and hot and happening, and then the world is still putting you in the same, 45 to 65 age bracket. Because it's such a wide bracket.
Yeah, you're on the shelf, you're out of wrinkled and prone now.
Backstabbing isn't a gendered act, but the knife women use is often hidden behind a compliment.
Nice. I shall be very for
I don't know whose
compliments.
quote this is, but it's someone's quote.
But actually, I felt rather sad for them because this could have been such an opportunity for them to get vulnerable and talk to each other about what's really going on with their lives.
Yeah. Men, no? That's why for men, that is an issue. I am going to give you a quote from an evolutionary psychologist. And she says that, unlike men who are more likely to engage in direct physical aggression, women learn to operate covertly. What psychologists call relational aggression, exclusion, gossip, undermining. Exclusion is such a big one. And she says women often engage in indirect aggression not because they are nastier, but because it was evolutionarily safer.
Okay. Evolutionary is safer.
Yeah. So you do it in a slightly, indirect, underhand manner. And you also need each other. That's the other thing. You can't afford to lose.
You need the other women to help you bring up your child.
You need that so-called sisterhood also, no?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what explains backhanded compliments, subtle sabotage.
Mm-hmm. And also, women are not physically as strong as men.
They're not, yeah.
So it's more of a mental mind game that they tend to play. Interesting.
So this was Dr. Anne Campbell, as I said. And the other quote is by Dr. Rachel Simmons, author of Odd Girl Out. The competitiveness among women often arises not from malice, but from scarcity. We are still fighting for limited seats at the table.
Oh.
And this happens in the professional workspace also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, basically, it's like saying, pick me. Whether it's a man or it's a position in a place of work, in a corporate setup, or it is an audition, wherever it is. It's a very...
And you're trying to get the other woman to eradicate herself out of the selection process.
Because you want to shine.
Yeah. You step out so I can step up.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this was a nice one. Friendships among women isn't weaker. It's stronger, deeper, and therefore more explosive when it falls apart. Which is true, right?
Because we are so dependent on our female friends for so much. They're picking up all the slack of emotional labor that the men don't pick up in our lives.
Yeah. So, we all know that kind of a woman who's like, for want of a better word, an emotional contortionist. Yeah, she will, to be superior, she'll just keep changing her stance on everything to just have an upper hand somehow. So the other thing is that healthy friendships between only two very secure women or women who are not competing in the same arena is going to survive. That's what is the nub of it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think
Sister-in-laws also compete, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sister-in-laws compete. Sisters compete.
But I just think that men discuss it a lot more. That women are like this, and oh my God, women are so petty, and women are so, you know, nasty to each other, and that narrative has been built around that. Do you think that is it just that, or is it really true?
See, we're not listening to the men when they're telling us we are petty with each other.
Locker room tales.
No, we're not bothered about what the men are saying. I think women are intrinsically, yes, there is that competitiveness. But I do know that the sisterhood, when it is true and when it is strong and when it is good, there's nothing like it to support a woman through the really bad times.
Yeah, but I'm just saying out of the 10 friends that you're going to, 10 friendships you're going to form, really 1 or 2 will contribute to that sisterhood.
Yeah, there will be 2 with a maximum 3 or 4.
No, I'm just saying that is like being very generous, generous guessing.
Yeah.
But that's how it is going to be. And I think therefore, what do us years at school teach us, hanging around girlfriends? What does that teach us? It really just teaches us this, that you need to really be choosy and take your own time in trusting people.
Yeah, and be prepared for people to drop out of your life.
I told you, I think I've mentioned this to you before, possibly on the podcast. So when I was at school, if I had bad mark in math, I'd face a lot of music at home. And now I know that I have ADD, but at that time I was just called like a very bright girl who doesn't focus and who struggles with math. So I think there's a name for it now, calculus dyslexia.
Yeah, something.
Or something like that. So back then, I remember that I had a 9 on 25. Okay. And I wasn't intending to tell my mom. And every day she was asking me, did you get your math test? I said, no, the teacher's on leave. I made some lame excuse. I still remember there was a girl called Pooja Nair.
Pooja Nair, are you listening?
And this was when we were in the 6th grade. And I told her, I said, you know what, one day I'll have to tell my mom. And I don't know how I'm going to tell her. So I'm going to find a time when my dad is in town. My dad must have been, away. And I'm going to tell her then. You know what Pooja did that day? So we used to come back home from school riding our cycles together in a beautiful military cantonment where it was safe to be on the road and cycle. And Pooja oversped. I said, where are you going? She said, I have to be home early today. And I said, okay. And I was with someone else chatting and cycling. Maybe we were returning from a tuition. I think that's what it was. And suddenly, I see Pooja coming out of our building gate.
Lovely.
And she saw me and she sped up and she cycled her way towards her lane. When I went in, of course, there was like hell to be faced because Pooja had gone and said, Auntie, I just came to tell you that our math marks were given a week ago. Shonali is hiding from you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it started as early as that. Like, it was unnecessary.
Did you get into a fist fight with her? This is what I want to know.
I just stonewalled her because...
that's the problem. We don't get into fist fights.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite strong. I could have done that.
Yeah, you should have.
But I've forgotten a lot of names of lots of friends from that time, but I still remember. I remember her face. And that is the first time I faced deception.
Betrayal. With a big capital B.
Cold, hard betrayal. And that's how early in our life that we start learning these lessons. But clearly I didn't learn enough because, I'm very trusting because I think I'm a very trustworthy friend.
See, you cannot change who you are intrinsically.
Exactly.
So it's okay. This will come and go.
Yeah.